Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me Suleiman Ben Sware coming on live on Facebook. Juma Mubarak. Today is Friday, the 15th of October 2021, and the time is just gone 5:30 in the evening in Birmingham, England. If you just bear me a minute, let me share this video on my page and I will start the program. Okay, thank you. As I said, today is Friday, the 15th of October 2021. The time is just gone 5:30 in the evening in Birmingham, England. The reason for this program, actually, I've got lots of inbox asking for my opinion. What does it mean with the recent interest Senegalese media have in the Gambia elections? What does it really mean by them publishing and or having discussions on their TV, private media, on the UDP being pole position and so on. And there's a lot of interest, and some asking if this is not interference in our politics, and what does it mean for elections. And I decided to do the program because of this interest. And it's actually, looking at it, it's quite a very interesting dynamics for elections and for Gambians to learn as well. We need to learn from these things and to understand where we are and where we're leading ourselves. Because I say we're leading ourselves. We allow whatever happens in that country to be. And what interests does Senegal have in this or not? And I'll do it will take a little bit of time to get to the details exactly, because I said I'm going to do in-depth analysis on this. And the results of the program, as I said, people requested, asking, because it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented for Senegal to show interest in our politics this way. It's not in the First Republic. It has not happened in the dictatorship, even though we all know they are, or we understand in many aspects that they will be against them, but they have never shown that interest. What we used to hear was Sen Kanela, I think we remember that whenever we call Senegal, Senegal, it was Sen Kanela and Lekako. Why Senegalese media was not interested? But again, a factor, they were interested in the other side. That was Yaya using Senegalese media, Senegalese intelligentsia for that matter, using Senegalese social influences in projecting his interest, not Gambia's strategic interest, his interest on winning the elections, because he knew that Gambia was actually dependent on Senegalese media. He knew that Gambia was following Senegalese social influences, the Mbalaxas and others. We have Saint Ouzan and many others, and Chon Seka and others, and even in taking part in sponsoring Rasulas or stuff like that. It tells you what the intelligence is. But recently, this time round, few days actually, these few past days, I know some people did not capture the first sketch that Kucha did. Kucha did a sketch, and when I saw the sketch, I said it's interesting, and I shared it with some people actually, and I said this is interesting. Let's see where this is leading to, because people have to understand that Kucha is just not a comedian. He does influence issues, and he does get, probably because of influence, used one way or the other. Depends who see the benefits and cooperate with him or whatever it is, or buy into airtime and so on. He's have that influence. And the Kucha show came out, After that, we saw a newspaper print of the UDP in Basse, the big crowd in Basse. And this is interesting. It's just the next day. Day after the UDP meeting, we saw the print. They must have been following to get that, pictures, even on social media, and printed. Thank you. They move on. They did the print. We all saw the print and said, UDP or Senegal a pole position to win and so on in French. Then, next day, we saw a panel. I don't know this panel, medium, but we saw a kind of a panel, and a lady introduced the topic, and we had others gave their view. And the same thing again, along the same line, UDP pole position, and give a background of the what had transpired and why UDP become the opposition and why their pole position. They did that. Then again we saw another one, interesting, again another newsprint, and that Sonko, the crowd of Sonko was shown in Ziguinchor, Pastef, Pastef is in Ziguinchor right now, and they shown that and saying that Sonko is projecting, force here, like power, or his support and so on. And the same column, along the same line, and this our front line, showing the UDP position. Interesting. Now, how did this thing happen? I don't know. To be candid, I don't know. We can speculate, but what we can do is to look at plausible things, to look at logically approach it, to see what's happening here. And I'll give my background as an intelligence of what I think is happening here. And we can first say, did UDP pay for this? We know political party do pay for public relations. We had it in Macky Sall does it, or the political parties do it. But mainly the incumbent does it. Did UDP pay for this? I don't know. Did I think so? No. Why? The platforms are varied. It's not one person doing it. It's not one media doing it. That's not enough. But again, is it a PR agent? PR company doing it? I don't know. That's one thing. The other side we want to look at, and I want to look at deeply, which I think have more plausibility, have more logical explanation, would be to look at Senegal. I think Senegal itself, the government itself, and for good reasons. I don't see it as interference. I see it as looking after their strategic interests. I don't see it as interference. Yes, can be seen interference in other quarters, but this is what government do. This is the responsibility of a government. Gambia government should be projected into other countries, especially the sub-region, that plays to our strategic interests. It's not to individual. This is not Macky Sall's strategic interest, because we all understand that Macky Sall have a good relationship with them. Then who is it for? It's the state interest, strategic interest, and we'll go into that in detail. And as I said, countries do this. Russia was supporting the Brexit in United Kingdom supported the no campaign in order for United Kingdom to move away from Europe, because for their strategic interest. And Russia have been sponsoring political parties in Europe who are from the far right in order, again, for their strategic interest. For them, is to destabilize the democracy in Europe. And they do it through intelligence here, they do it in many aspects. And they bought media outlets in the United Kingdom here, the Evening Standard. The Evening Standard. Guys, I think you have to increase your volume. the Evening Standard. The Evening Standard is bought by Russians, in Italy, in many places. And not only the Evening Standard, the Telegraph, they buy and sell in order to project. They do these things in many aspects. Different America does it and other things. Why do you think they have the VOA? Why do you think they have the BBC? Why do you think they have the others? They project their strategic interests. In certain instances, in fact, personally, they go beyond just projecting it. They make sure they influence it in many ways. And they get their hands dirty in it in order to have an outcome that they wish, or so that they can have control or influence over it for their interests. They do. Now, I want to do a background to explain what media intelligence is, or social intelligence play, and what the intelligence community do, national intelligence agencies do, or in fact private intelligence agencies. You have intelligence agencies which are not very known. We all hear about mercenary groups. Most mercenary groups actually are contracted through intelligence agencies. You just don't go to a mercenary group and contract them. I mean, the efficient ones are going through intelligence agencies that look at your problems and tell you that you need this, you need that, you need that, you need that, and we can do this, we can do that for you. Okay, we contract a mercenary company to do that for you. We'll contract a PR agent to do for you. We do this for you and that. This is what you need to deal with your problems. But in a national intelligence, so this is part of what they do. You see, we have a problem in the Gambia. All we know about national intelligence is NIA, SIS, swooping into people for the interest of the president. In these countries, it's the national interest they go for. And yes, they do get political at times. I mean, you can't help it. The executive is always powerful. They do political. But in many cases, they go for national interest. And it's not only to spy on people or counterintelligence. They go on implementing strategies that will help the country project themselves for their strategic interests. In the geopolitics, they do that. I'll give you a background of this. We all remember Yaya Jammeh. Jammeh, some people don't know, but Yaya Jammeh have a lot of interest in determining the politics in Senegal. And something that we all seen physically, he was interfering with customers for his interest. And not only that, keeping them busy there, but again, Yaya Jammeh was really in touch with Senegalese media in many aspects, and he was in touch with Senegalese celebrities. We all seen that in these things, because he was using them to project inside Gambia. But not only that too, it was projecting inside Senegal. And this was, because once he can have that relationship with them, then he can influence some of the things they do and how they looked at it. And Senegal knew about these things. When Macky Sall came in, Macky Sall knew that they have a problem. They have a problem in two areas. So, what's his name? Yaya Jammeh have infiltrated in fact the Senegalese intelligence itself and have agents within the Senegalese intelligence. He was having very up-to-date intelligence on Senegal about him and his strategic interests. That way he was having control. He had that. Another thing was he had control over the Senegalese intelligentsia itself, from the media to personalities. And intelligentsia, again, the big, Syrian families, the Touba, these other places. And in fact, in many cases, Touba have intervened between him and Ablaye Wade and so on. But he later broke that relationship with Touba by going after the Mori in the Gambia and so on. That broke it, but he had that influence. He had other influences in other quarters. But the interesting thing is when Macky Sall came in, Macky Sall came with a strategy. First was to approach, and in fact his first visit was to the Gambia because of the Senegalese strategic interests. And we'll get deep into that. He approached and visited Gambia first and said it. Well, so strategy interest, we want to engage you. But at the same time, Senegal had that strategy, and the strategy was the carrot and the stick. Senegal went on. Remember, when Macky Sall just came, the rebels have captured some Senegalese soldiers. Senegal negotiate because Yaya had an influence, use Yaya and negotiate and get their soldiers released. At the same time, Senegal went and signed a peace accord with some factions in the rebel in Casamance, and Senegal went on a reconciliation mood. Robert Sagnan was appointed to head that reconciliation, and the Catholic Church from Italy. There's an organization that does this kind of job. They were part of it to do that. And Senegal too thought about some strategic projects in Casamance. Macky Sall, strategic projects that can be implemented to win over the confidence of the people. You know, they did a series of things. But another thing is Senegal reinforced their military capabilities, from drone technology and other these things with the help of the Americans, and in order to able to scout out and do things. And this was one way of cutting Yaya Jammeh out of it. I mean, no influence. Yaya Jammeh could not have any more influence. These people can now see everything. They can do things. But again, another move, I mean, Macky Sall did was, and people can remember when, after Yaya Jammeh fell out with Touba. Remember when he invited the Caliph from Niassène, Senegal, Kaula, to, I think, was independent, something in the Gambia. He was trying to cultivate that relationship, because these things are very powerful. Because remember how many people follow this syringe in Senegal, and once they see their syringe associated with the president, they are kind of a lenient or empathetic, I mean, towards that cause. The Yaya Jammeh knew these things. It's not about spiritual prayers or anything. It's about the influence that people have and their followers. And he tried that, but Macky Sall got in there and cut it off. And cut off almost everywhere. Then went to other places and cut it off. And Yaya started to be isolated. Technically, Yaya was completely isolated. That's why, remember after in 2015, the border closure. That's why Senegal just hit up the border closure, because knew Yaya was completely cut off now. And what happened is, this is where they push again, use their motion. Yaya became desperate after 2 weeks. Senegal did not come to the Gambia to negotiate. Gambia sent a high-powered delegation, and I can remember in those days, Ndobin Job was trade, I think. Ousmane Sonko was interior, and I mean these people, and there was an incident that happened with Ousmane Sonko there with a woman. If people that follow the struggle remember that. But important thing was, it was a high-powered delegation, and I think Bala Jahampa was infrastructure or Badji, Ousmane Badji from France. He was ambassador, I think, something like that around that time. But this was when Gambia have to agree on the bridge. Yaya Jammeh was present to agree on the bridge. Part of the conditions they signed in that meeting. And if you look at the contract for the bridge, and everything was drawn out by Senegal, the contracting and design and everything was non-Gambian. And they implemented it. Because Yaya Jammeh became weak, they completely cut him off. Internationally, he was cut off. But one thing was left, that still we have Senegalese musicians coming into Gambia, seeing Yaya, the Rasulas projected. And in the Senegalese with Senegalese opposition for that matter, we are not against Yaya, or they don't talk about Yaya. And in a sense, they kind of have empathy with Yaya in certain areas. Because one thing Yaya was doing was saying that, look, I don't have a problem with Senegal as a country. What I have problem is your leaders, or some of your leaders. Why I have a problem with them? Because of France or the neocolonial. He played that. We all know it's rubbish, but he played that, and it keep on saying these things and become recording this thing. I cannot go in deep into something, but one thing, because we were interacting in certain things, and I knew about these things, and said something have to be done in order to cut this position. And that thing was done in Farafenni 2016 in Farafenni, when Yaya Jammeh was in Farafenni with that rally. Something was done with the international intelligence community. And that tripped Yaya Jammeh, and that's where Yaya Jammeh went on and insulted Senegal in a manner that he alienated him from the Senegalese intelligence here, be the media, be the influential people, what you call them, influential social influencers. Because when Yaya Jammeh insulted Abdou Diouf, I mean, saying that this is what happened between here and Abdou Diouf, he told Abdou Diouf to F off and others. He said that he told Ablaye Wade that that I'll drink attires Bopabi or these things, and he went after Macky Sall. That's three generations of Senegalese leaders. Now you cannot turn around to say that you are right, that you have problem with all our leaders, and this is not about you and our country. And now make it difficult for these other people to associate. The press started to go after Yaya Jammeh. And the comedians started to make sketch. I mean, the Sanjogu making sketch and others. And again, you see how the media will turn around and start playing up. And being part of the game. Sanjogu and others started playing up. I mean, this thing, and now the Vivian and all, I mean, and Yusundus and others, and everybody started to step back because we cannot associate with someone who insults us. And this was important. Just to give you a background of what, I mean, this media, this thing do mean. That's what becomes bad. Now, very likely or highly likely that Senegalese intelligence, why discuss this? It's very likely or highly likely. As I said, I did not have evidence to this. What I'm trying to do is to look at certain things that I know as an intelligence operative that is important to Senegal for their strategic interests. And in order to deal with that, they have to have strategy in dealing with that. And the best form would be to avoid any problems with it, rather than to react to the problem. Or there will always be a contingency planning, but there will be strategies that they will employ in order to deal with this, and that's what I think. That's why it's highly likely or very likely that Senegal intelligence are doing this, because intelligence agencies, as I said, they do strategize for government and to do these things, and intelligence agencies have good relationship with the press. You know it or not, especially in Senegal. Most of it, some of the scoop they come out with, the press come out, journalists come out with, they sit down and say, don't quote us, but put this. You see, they build that relationship and the influencer, because they win their confidence by giving them information, but in turn they get information too from the press. But in turn again, what happened is they influence the press. When they win that communication, influence the press to give out the coverage they want, the national interest. And yes, and it's have been going like that. I'll tell you, from Second World War and many other things, you have seen the intelligence use the press on campaigns and other things to use it. That's why it's very likely. Now, the other point is Senegalese strategic interest. Let's start with the conspiracy. We call it the conspiracy. Let's start with the conspiracy. And other people will say it's not, but let's just put it as a conspiracy and the reality. The conspiracy is this: Senegal wants to turn Gambia to a region. Let's say it's a conspiracy. And others will say, yes, Senegal will be acting on behalf of France, or are acting on behalf of France, not only Gambia, but geopolitically, especially to African, English-speaking countries, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and others. And, you know, and people will point to evidence on some of these things that have happened. And others would look at other things and say, but let's say that's a conspiracy. But the other things, let's say the other realities, let's call it other realities. The other realities, especially to Gambia, is future, is future integration, like coming together. That's a reality. That's a fact. That's an evidence base. Why? Time of independence, we all know negotiations went on, and under the auspices of the UN, and to the extent of Premier Dia, the Senegalese Prime Minister, then visiting Gambia, talking to civil society, talking to trade unions, talking to youth move these things, and talking to the Gambia government, the Gambian representatives then, on the idea of, look, let's come together. And we have seen again in history with the Confederation, Senegal really wanted it, and that much, and so on. There have been resistance on the side of Gambia, thinking of loss of sovereignty and others. This is a fact. These are the other realities, yes. And why? But another other realities, the other realities too, is we are inside Senegal. We technically divide Senegal into two countries, the north and the south. We are English speaking. Yes, we have almost everything the same. One thing is the language and the colonial philosophy of governance or whatever it is. This is what we have in problems. And we have been unable to destabilize, in a sense. We had the 81, we had the 94, and we had the 22 years of dictatorship, which is, in a sense, a threat to national security of Senegal. Then it's a Senegal strategic interest to see peace and stability in Gambia. It's Senegal's strategic interest to cultivate better relationship in order to have a future integration, because any transformative leader would think of beyond their borders and would think of the future. Generations to come, what we should have. We anticipate these things and we plan according to that. There is no country in this world that will maintain their boundaries over 100 years. It has never happened. United Kingdom, in 100 years back, it was something else. United Kingdom have been something else. America have been something 100 years ago. And today there's something, and tomorrow there might be other thing. The boundaries of the United States can change. And be Turkey, during the Ottomans to now, it have changed boundaries. Every other country, Senegal have changed boundaries. Gambia, as a young countries like Gambia, every country have changed boundaries. Pakistan have changed boundaries. We can go on. That's the fact about things. And boundary changes now. It's not only the physical boundaries, but what happens is when you develop your citizens to be very productive, their influence get into other boundaries. That's why even Senegal's development from their human resource, their capabilities, being trade and other things, their citizens become billionaires, millionaires, able to export, able to do things, able to build factories, able to move to other countries to this thing. They are moving their boundaries. This is what we should understand. Now, Senegal have this strategic interest. And Senegal, not only Gambia too, would have this strategic interest to look beyond their boundaries. Because trade you don't trade with yourself alone, you trade with others. Then the national intelligence should have an interest. That's why in intelligence here you have industrial sabotage, industrial espionage, industrial strategy. That's why you see intelligence is part of everything we do. And Senegal would want to open markets for their people. They want to open access to markets and other things for their people. Now, if the Senegalese government did not have a good relationships or have influence with these governments around West Africa, what chance do they have to have influence in East Africa or other things? No, they have to consolidate in the West African region first, and that consolidating them there, they can project themselves into East Africa and others. And Senegal have been doing that very well. Remember the population of Senegal. Remember the economy of Senegal. But today, if you look at Senegal, in the geopolitical thing, Senegal gets represented in Durbus, in most conferences where if you ask for 7 African leaders to represent Senegal, will be part of them. And if you look at population size, if you look at economy, if you look at a lot of things, Senegal would not be 7th. But because of the stability, because of their democracy, because of the strategic development, they know how to project themselves. because of the influences they develop. Their citizens, just an example of Yusundur, the projection of Yusundur in the world, projection of all Babamal in the world, projection of it makes, that's how we develop. And Senegal have been doing that well. Recently there's been, I mean, sort of problems developing here with Macky Sall and treatment also, but generally they did well. And we can see all that. And Senegal, we have seen them been very strategic in influencing in Equatorial Guinea. You'll be surprised if you go to Equatorial Guinea and find out how influential Senegal is in Equatorial Guinea. Because of what? Again, strategic part of their strategy, and their intelligence played a part in that. And again, if you look at Senegal media, if you look at their theater, what they call theater, their drama this thing, and look at it well, you can see a lot of issues or episodes that are projected to certain things. You can see how they getting their other francophone countries to project into there, Ivory Coast and others. They bring Ivorians, or they bring Senegalese who act as Ivorians. This is very important. And these dramas now are watched not only in Senegal and Gambia, and not anymore. That's why some of these dramas you find a lot of French. Even though it's subtitled in those countries, in Ivory Coast and others, but you can find Maîtresse and other things. They have a lot of French in it, and you see they have actors that will be perceived to be Ivorian or Cameroonian or whatever it is. This is all part of intelligence. They have an interest to, especially in the Gambia. As I said, we are dividing them. That's why again they achieved that bridge. It was a strategic interest to Senegal. It's a strategic interest to Gambia, but we have not, because we have not developed a strategic development plan to benefit from the existence of this bridge. Now the bridge is actually benefiting Senegal much. We are not blaming Senegal. We are learning from what they're doing well in order to do well for ourselves. And it starts from electing the leaders that can think and see and comfortable in having people around that have the knowledge and the know-how to help to build. That's what we need. These are things we're learning from this. They have because of the south and north, but not only that. And where else? Casamas. For their own security. Casamas for their own security. Why? What's wrong with that? That's their strategic interest. They have to do that. And if anybody stand between them and their security, hey, they should take it on. But again, that's where it starts. It starts with diplomacy. It starts with other things. Then the intelligence come in. Diplomacy is part of the intelligence, what they do. The Casamas, their security mandate in international context. You see, people keep on forgetting this. Security mandate, both national and international. Senegal owe it to themselves to do whatever it takes to secure their country. Gambia being inside their country, Senegal will do an evaluation, assessments, to see how to do this thing. That's why they really wanted that bridge, and they have that bridge. It gives them a strategic advantage now, and even linked this thing economically. Casamas will be better off. I don't want Casamas better off economically. They feel more part of Senegal. They'll be more integrated to Senegal. I mean, the boundaries before, you know, I mean, if they shorten the distance to see themselves in the north, will help to to build the peace and the stability of that country. But internationally too, that's why I said international mandate of security is international law. To the extent, that's where projection comes in. You know, when countries say that due to my strategic security, these things have been stabilized, I will invade this country. I try to base it on this gray area in international law. where then you go to United Nations and make your case and look, and in fact in some cases you do it again and take you to United Nations, you take the defense. China is doing it, Russia is doing it, America is doing it, England is doing it, other countries will be doing it. In the case of Gambia, you don't have to go to war. The most progressive thing is to build a relationship, a better relationship with Gambia, anticipate on Gambia future and see how you bind that. And we'll get to that. These are this Senegalese strategic interests. Now, how do they do this? When we look at this, there's this strategic interest. Now, what I said again, there's a conspiracy. It might be true, but I just want to treat it as a conspiracy. But let's say, if you look at it, you might find some evidence or anything, or people can, that they'll yeah, obviously, if Gambia become a region, they'll be better off. A bigger country and everything else, but no. They might not even need that. It's not necessary. If they have a cooperation with Gambia, where we all mutual interests develop mutually, Gambia stable, progressive, one people, and future integration, we will evolve. We will evolve. And for Africa to be sustainable development is about cooperation. Before, a friend of mine just came from Nigeria. I'll just give you this example. A friend of mine who is a Gambian, who is an engineer. He's working for an international company that doing consultants for an international company. He was in northern Nigeria for 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, implementing program, helping an international organization to implement programs in Nigeria, northern Nigeria. Just imagine how many educated Nigerians. But the interesting thing is, it took him 34 hours to get to Kano in northern Nigeria, Kano. It could have taken him 4 hours to get to Kano from Gambia, 6 hours from Gambia to UK. Go and look at the map. He could have, no. Even to get to Nigeria might be quick, somewhere in Lagos, but to get to Lagos to Kano is a problem. Some flights will be, actually, you have to fly from Lagos to another country in East Africa and to Kano. You see, and another thing is, a few years ago, about 10, 15 years ago, I wanted to import palm oil from Ghana. We have this opportunity to import palm oil. Technically, I have to give up. The cost and the difficulty, the uncertainty, even the uncertainty to do that. Now, if Africa, West Africa cannot trade within ourselves, what's the hope of our development? That's why integration, we like it or not, is going to happen. And if we invest in our people, invest in our country, we have nothing to fear. It's a win-win situation for us. Every country would prosper, every country would develop. That's what Europe is going to. Other countries, that's what American countries, South American, North American countries are doing. There's a pact. There's East Africa, they're doing it. Southern Africa, they're doing it. This is the reality, and we shouldn't be scared of that. We have what it takes, and all we need is the leaders to make sure these things are actualized. This is the fact. Now, let's go to something else. Now, let's get to some of the evidence I said. Okay. Senegal, hence they have a mandate. Right now, economic. The word economic, I'll tell you, Senegal is the greater contributor in forces and logistics. And for, obvious, the geopolitics, we are more alike, the distance, everything else Senegal would be. And the international cannot project certain things for Gambia without going to Senegal, especially security-wise. And that's why when the economic distinction, Senegal have to lead. Senegal have to lead Nigeria and lead Ghana and Togo and whoever took part. And then Senegal owned up. Not only that, Senegal right now is in charge of the security of our executive, the State House. Senegal is in charge. They have that much. And because of they have this, operationally, in fact I know, Senegal would have to do a periodical assessment 3 months or 6 months, likely 3 months, and it might be different, 3 months and 6 months, likely 3 months assessment to see the security nature of Gambia. And if they do that assessment, they have to look at a lot of factors. Some of events that happen, they have to be, when events happen, the intelligence will be on it. They have to look at those events and see what does it represent. Any threat to Senegal, disinterest, or any threat to Gambia destabilization, because they have to anticipate this, they will be ready. But they have to look at institutions, how institution functions, how our leadership functions, how our politics is going out. They have to understand the politics of the Gambia. They understand our elections, how it turn out. Oh, okay, this is what happened in the parliamentary. This is what the parliament composition is, and this is how parliament is deliberating. Or this is what happened in the local government. This is the dynamics in the local governments, and this is how they deliberate. They have to understand these things. And they have to, from there on, look at parliament, the most influential, the most this thing. And when intelligence do that, now, if they want anything done in parliament, they know where to go, how to go, dots to connect, or whatever it is. They have to do that. The same thing in the presidents and everything. That's what intelligence have to do. They have that. And the security. Obviously, they will look at our security setup. They will do listening to what's happening in there. They will observe, and they do those things to know. And in everything will be compiled, and a briefing note will be developed to advise the executive. The briefing notes will be done to advise the service chiefs, and the service chief will take that to the Security Council, and the Security Council would develop another briefing note that would be advising to the executive, which is sort of about more look. Everything, this is this, that is that, everything's in hand. Do we anticipate this? We anticipate that. We have a contingency plan, and we have a strategy, and this is the strategy, this is the contingency plan. If the strategy did not work, or if it works to a certain level, if it fails in certain aspects, we have something to step in. They don't, and others. When you do those planning, you have 1, 2, or 3 way of dealing with things. You make sure that, but the first strategy is to avoid the problem happening. The second is about, if it happens, how do you nip it in the bud? That's where this the contingency planning comes in. And the contingency plan will have a set of the immediate, the short, medium, and the long term. How this is going to be operated? Because all these things needed to be costed. And everything, some of these things have to be in place, like a standby formula, aspects to be deployed when necessary. Okay. About 16 months ago, Senegal did one of their reports. Don't ask me how I knew, but I'll tell you for a fact, I knew the outcome of the report. And the reaction of the Gambia government tells you, you see, that's why I said at times you have information, and in order to, even to prove that information is true, you collaborate the information with what evidence from another source or another, and if I mean source, not individual. I mean, even the reaction of Gambia government, what Gambia government was doing, you can say they were reacting to what Senegal told them or position. About 6, I don't know I can't remember exactly the month or this, but let's say about 16 months ago, Senegal had a brief, and the service chief visited the Gambia. That's the only time you see the service chief, because if they have some of this briefing to do to the executive, they have to visit the Gambia and sit the executive and give the brief. And the executive, I mean the president himself with his minister, if the president allowed, the defense minister, the interior minister, if it's allowed. If not, they sit the president with his advisors or whoever he was there and advise. But they will have a separate session where they will have a meeting with the service chiefs. This is what they do. They came in and they did advice. But the advice given to the president is their assessment. He is not likely at that time to win the elections. And they gave our factors. They gave our factors of why did they think he's not likely to win the elections. And they gave our factors to say to him, and they tell him that, look, it's going to be a very competitive election. This was about 6 months ago. And as things are, we might need to develop a contingency plan. Advice, you have to take this seriously and see how you can, fix yourself up. If you're running and you want to win, make sure you fix yourself up. Because we're anticipating you're losing the elections now. But not only losing the elections, we are anticipating that the contest will be very competitive, and if there become any dispute of the election results, the country, the tension will be high, and we are to intervene. And our policy is to avoid an intervention, because Senegalese forces, soldiers, cannot be seen in the streets of Banjul, Gambia. And based on our assessment, still you fail the security sector reforms. And we are not advising you, to use your army into the streets. It's not good for a democracy. And if it gets out of hand, Senegal will have to get involved. And that decision we don't want to take. And if we take that decision, would depend again on our strategic interests and depend again to the stability of this country. They said that to him. He said, the police would not, the competitiveness of these elections, the police would not able to, if it's not managed, this to maintain the stability. And we cannot be seen. Senegal proposed we might look at a contingency by involving ECOWAS police. You all remember the issue about ECOWAS police. This was to get the ECOWAS countries to provide police officers. At least it's not about soldiers, economic soldiers getting into the streets, but police helping and working the Gambia police. I don't think it worked out. It still did not look good. This was Senegalese advice, because we cannot see Senegal doing it and insulate ourselves. And I'll tell you why Senegal is doing that. We'll get to that. Let's get other national countries to come, police to come. And obviously, then Senegal will not be blamed for interfering, because they want to make sure they're not be seen as interfering or taking an advantage of the destabilization of the country. Then what happened? The Gambia government were disappointed, and Barrow thought Senegal abandoned him. They don't understand why Senegal is coming out projecting that he's going to lose the elections. What he doesn't know, Senegal have looked at the realities of what wins an elections. Senegal have looked at the structure. There's no structure. There's no political structure 16 months ago, and still there's no political structure. Senegal looked at the capacity. There's no capacity. Senegal looked at the economic realities. Because it's this thing. Senegal did an evaluation on Barrow. He's not charismatic. He's not convincing. He's lazy. Senegal looked at the other factors. The youth population, the urban population, and see this is going to be competitive. Now the opposition is there. They did not say that this particular opposition then was going to win. They just said to me, it's not likely for you to win. Because these things, if you have to do this, you have to solve. Then, Senegal again did an evaluation. Again, on still the threat pending with the APRC in the country, the party, and for the their Messiah in Equatorial Guinea. They did an assessment and he gave a report. The Barrow government was not happy. And again, this is where the fact of collaboration, when we got this info, this is how we collaborated. At the same time, the External Affairs Minister, Tangara, Defense Minister Omar Faye, and others, they ran to Nigeria. This was when they went to Nigeria and signed a defense pact. And they shot themselves in the foot. That's when they went to, they think they are not likely to be Omar Faye's idea, think he's smart. They went and decorated Dada. And, and these things irritated the Nigerian president because of these service chiefs were the one that overthrew him first time when he was a military leader. Not only that, they signed this accord, defense pact. Guess what? The minute they came back the next following week, Senegal reacted. They see what Barrow was trying to do. Presidents, Jawara did the same thing. When they fall out with Jawara and the confederation was broken, Jawara went to Nigeria to get the Nigerians in. Now, Senegal seen that this guy, Barrow, now is trying to get the Nigerians involved in this. They did not take chances, obviously their intelligence looked at it, and the best thing was to stop it, actually. They could have sat and wait for Barrow to commit the mistakes. But if the mistakes were happening, again, the destabilization of Gambia, Senegal would have to have a problem with that. What did they do? That was Macky Sall's trip to Nigeria. Go and look at the history of Senegal relationship with Nigeria. It's not. He went to Nigeria, but not only that, he took Mbalo, Bissau. By taking Mbalo, pretext that he's going to introduce Mbalo to Bissau. And Bissau to Nigeria. Go and look at the relations between Bissau and Nigeria to technically non-existent. The point was to undermine what Barrow was doing. Then he had an audience with this thing and explained that what is happening in the sub-region. You see, it's diplomatic. I'm not saying he went to say Barrow did this, Barrow. No, he wouldn't have to do that. He explained what's happening in the sub-region. Oh, this is Malo. I mean, through our contributions in Bissau, stability, elections. This is now where Bissau is progressing, and again, going to Buhari saying that for a senior leader, I mean, Nigeria said this thing. We said let's come to you and interview. They do use the diplomacy. Then the what's his name? Barrow. Then Barrow's visit to Nigeria. Now Barrow is going to Nigeria now, thinking that he was going to. Now there's an MOU signed with the Minister of Defense or somebody, and the Gambia Foreign Affairs Minister and this Defense Minister on a defense pact. Now, I mean, after a few months, I mean, this guy, what's his name? President Barrow went to Nigeria and had an audience this trip was for 48 hours. Had an audience with Buhari. When the minute he left Nigeria, Aso Rock, that's the State House, press secretary who speaks on behalf of the president came out and released a press statement revoking, technically saying to Barrow that, look, we supported you. That's why you can look at that message and look at what Macky Sall or Senegal was doing in Nigeria. We supported you. I traveled, he said, the President Buhari traveled to Gambia a few times during the impasse. And everything, go back to your people and sort this problem out. He said to him, you have not delivered the transition. Go and sort this out. Nigeria, and he said that in the press statement. Go and look at the press statement again. I did not even revisit the press statement. I remembered all this when it happened, because we dealt with it before here. He said to me that we have enough to deal with. That's what Buhari said technically. Again, we all thought it's finished. No. We all remember a few months ago, about 2-3 months ago, from nowhere, again, Tangara and guys went back to Nigeria to sign an MOU for insurgency. You see, still now, they are trying to sideline Senegal, thinking that now they, someone promised them everything. The minute they signed that MOU and it leaked out, the MOU leaked out. You remember Gambia had the Nigerian troops in the Gambia without Jawara notifying cabinet, without Jawara notifying parliament. And it was based on an MOU and some friendship. And we saw the disaster of that. And we were replicating the same thing. When they went there and this MOU came out, 2 days, the Senegalese foreign minister visited the Gambia. These are facts, go and see it. They are on, go and visit, Google it now. About 2 months ago, Senegalese foreign minister. The Senegalese foreign minister visited Gambia. The next day, Gambia government brought out a press release to disassociate themselves with the word insurgency and MOU with Nigeria. You see, because of the foreign minister of Senegal read the Riot Act to Barrow and the Gambia government. But we are not going to sit back, lay back here for you to destabilize the country and bring in Nigeria to our backyard. We also have seen what happened the last time. We have advised you. We have, our troops are involved here and these things. And do you want a withdrawal of our troops? And do you factor the outcome of what that means? And Barrow had to be disciplined. Now, this was the situation. Now something happened. As I said, when you do your security assessments, these are, you look at events. Something happened. The Sanyang riot happened a couple of months ago, about 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, I can't remember. But we all know the Sanyang riots. I mean, when a Senegalese citizen went to Bogula house and killed someone in that house, and he was arrested by the police, and a rumor came out that the Senegalese citizen is about to be repatriated, whatever it is. It was a rumor. Then a group of youths stormed the police station, and from that there on trying to catch or get this Senegalese guy, and I don't know how that case ended up anyway, and it resulted to a riot, and Senegalese citizens were targeted, fishermen and Chinese factories were targeted. Now, Senegal, when an incident like that, Senegal intelligence will look at it, and most people have seen, xenophobia in it. Senegal will be concerned. We have seen what happened to their citizens. Now they have to address the situation. And when they look at, and probably, I'm saying, when they look at it, probably, what would they say? There are underlying problems, causes here. This is not only about one citizen doing something. This something is bubbling, some thing bubbling within this community. Because Senegalese have been within this community for 100 years or more. They have intermarried, they have integrated the family, the seasonal fishermen will come and go, everything has happened. Now why this? And some of the language they heard on social media, they monitor everything, would point to xenophobia. And they would have to take responsibility. Why this? Oh, sentiments or there's a misconception here. There's a perception here, a strong perception that Senegalese government is doing this. Senegalese government trying to take over Gambia. Senegalese are taking over. This is a strong perception. We are not going to take chance. How can we remedy this? How can we remedy this? Then, the Senegalese ambassador came out. Yes, he was appealed for. And during the registration process, and warned Senegalese citizens to not be involved in this, election process of Gambia. He did that in order to protect. What is Senegal protecting? I'll get to that later. Not only that, the Senegalese ambassador made us aware that he did a national tour of the country. He went around the country to assist, talk to the Senegalese people. And for the Senegalese ambassador said to us in that interview that Senegalese in the Gambia are about 500,000. Not us making this. I thought it was about 300,000. The ambassador is 500,000. How did that come up? I'll give you two examples. One, probably Senegal themselves are over-registering minors in the Gambia and others asked to vote. The Senegalese embassy can only tell how many Senegalese are approximately in the Gambia by their voter registration or people that register with the embassy. If anyone registers with the embassy is likely to register to vote, they might find out how many citizens are in the country. Then if the Senegalese government said to us that there are 500,000 Senegalese, that's a large number out of 1.5 million. Out of 2 million, sorry. Then we have approximately 1.5 million. Now, if you take another percentage of Guineans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Malians, Bissau citizens, that's why I said we have a problem here. How much Gambians are in the country? In the country. But let's keep it to Senegal again. Senegal are playing a huge role in the economic activity of the Gambia. From any trade you think of, carpenter, mason, machining, welders, go on, highly specialized, go on, engineering, go on. Trade, markets, businesses, go on, any type of business. And so on and so on. Then Senegal have an interest here to protect their citizens and the interest of their citizens, and that's an interest of Gambia too. They have interest of the stability of the Gambia. They have an interest to the stability of the Gambia. That's why I said this discourse is important. Before we keep on throwing accusation to Senegal, let's just think little bit deeper. They have an interest, but we have a mutual interest. Yes, again, this should tell us to vote for the right leaders to develop the Gambian citizens. Some of these jobs, or most of these jobs, should have gone to Gambians. Why it's not going to Gambians? Because we don't have the skills. We don't have the specialized skills. We don't have the skills, basic skills even to do some of these things. Go and try. Some of us that do have projects. During the rainy season, we cannot find carpenters to do work for us. Right now, try and looking for masoners, we can find masoners to do certain things for us. Go and ask staff. Go and ask Paradise, whatever, Soul Fraser. Go and ask other people how difficult it is to have Gambians to do the work. That's why we need a government that invests in the youths. We need government that invests in these colleges, in the university, so that we can produce. If a lift breaks down in the Gambia, it's likely a Senegalese company that will come in. Most things break down in the Gambia, it's like a Senegalese company will come and do it. They have an interest in the Gambia. But this ambassador did this visit, and the ambassador gave an interview. Did we ever had a Nigerian ambassador give an interview talking about the strategic interests? The Senegalese government actually talked about that strategic interest. Unless we don't have the ears to hear. You know, there's something called diplomatic language. They are talking about their strategic interests. There are a lot of commentators that will talk about their Senegal strategic interests in Senegal. We don't even hear Gambian platforms talk about the Senegalese strategic interest and Gambian strategic interest or mutual interest. These are things that we need to develop, we need to look at. They talk about that. But another point, remember another development happened is the reinforcement. I call it reinforcement of 625 soldiers, Senegalese. Some people have a problem with that. I have no problem with it. I have a problem with what the failure of our security sector reforms. In 6 months to 1 year, Gambia could have relied on the Gambia armed forces, Gambia security, police and others. But we failed the security sector reform. That's why in 5 years we still have foreign forces. We cannot blame the foreign forces. We cannot blame the foreign countries. We blame the government that had a mandate, have all the resources that it should take. They neglect and they fail. We should take the blame. But now, not only about blame, let's make sure we elect the government that will assure us that in 6 months to 1 year, Gambia's security would improve to a level that we not need a presence of Senegalese or foreign forces in our country. We are a sovereignty. We have to make sure we put things in place for us. That's my position. But why did I say it's a reinforcement? I have not seen any evidence. And I know it's sensitive. They might not want to say that they are reinforcing, but my fact is there's nothing wrong with the reinforcements because the troops are already there. I've not seen troops leaving. I've not heard of troops leaving. Normally we see these things happen. But no, they said reinforcement. What's wrong with this reinforcement? Remember at the beginning I said when they do their assessments, they have a strategy and they have a contingency plan, part of the strategy. And the contingency plan will be about the physical aspects of what they do, something to guarantee, to pick up or nip things in the bud or to intervene and do what is necessary to stop it. But the strategy would be to avoid it happening at all. But again, they have something on standby, something ready that is well thought of, that is prepared, that's funded, that is located in this thing. 625 soldiers is about a battalion, in a rifle battalion or another form. Now, they will have a role to play. If something happens, they will have a role to play in order to stabilize and so on. That's why they do it. But now, let's come to the main thing now. Again, why the media intelligence here? As we see, that's the topic here. Just to rebuild all this to show why Senegal will have an interest and why they're doing what they're doing. The strategy interests here, one, the strategy to preventative measures. They have a strategy on that. As I said, Senegal did not tell me this. I am thinking that this, because from my background, I know these are the things that do happen. And now it's for Gambians to logically think about this, discuss these things. Why it is important for Gambians to be reassured and know the importance we should be to ourselves, the importance of these elections, importance of electing the right leaders, and know that even other countries have their strategic interests and they are doing everything to control that. We'll get to the last detail of it. The media intelligence here, strategy and for prevention. Why did they name the UDP as in pole position? For them, that's their assessment. If I'm saying if we assume that this is the Senegalese government through their intelligence using their media intelligence in order to project. Why they are doing it, we'll talk about that. Now, why then, let's start with why did they start on to say that UDP on pole position? We all know the good relationship Macky Sall have with BAM. We all know the good relations Senegal have with the Gambia government. Now, why would Senegalese intelligence would have an issue with us, with the borough or the government. That's why I first said about their security assessment. When they did their security assessment on the political side and on the security sector, they did their assessment, said there is likely to be a problem here. Now they're doing something about the problem. They brought in reinforcement, and now they are implementing another strategy, is talking to the media, projecting to the Gambia on how things is. Why UDP? At present, as we all see, people will say, oh, it's UDP or Barrow. But the evidence we have seen, again, people that are objective, without prejudice, and look at issues, would look at things, base it on tangible evidence. And the tangible evidence, there is no structure in a party without a structure, a party without capacity, because we have seen the people around. Party that does not even have, still now don't have an internal democracy to even elect an executive. A party that does not even have a literature to work on, not a manifesto, not a this thing about development. All the development is about infrastructure. You buy ambulance when the main referral hospital don't have a blood system, don't have water. A hospital without water, but you have ambulances. If your network fails, why can't you have a standby generator? Why can't you have boreholes to pump? How far is the water table? Why? Many things that we can do, but no, it just tells you this. They did all that assessment, and by looking at UDP, they have the structure, they have the grassroots, they've been in different elections during the dictatorship, the recent elections, the parliamentary, the local government, and they are asserting themselves, they are going out, they're mobilizing, they see that. They look at the other political parties, they are small political, most of them are newly registered, others are still, this is the assessment they do. Now, if it is this way, and how much? 2 months to elections, this is what they think. This is what they believe. This is assessment they do. Or others would go further. Probably they did that. To say that, no, what about if other political parties come together? I would do that in an assessment. But again, the factor is, you look at it, how likely it is. Because everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody wants to lead. How likely it is. I mean, and you look at all the things. Probably they did that, and they finally came, UDP is true. I'll come to another point. This is called hedging the bets. If you want to hedge the bets, 3-way or 2-way. They don't have a 3-way option. They don't see a 3-way, they see a 2-way. Now they're hedging the bets, and from their calculus, they put the biggest stake onto UDP. Does not mean that UDP will win. But for them, their assessment, UDP will win. They put a bigger bet. But again, the fallout control on Barrow. As I said, there's a kind of fallout control on Barrow. Now this, as an intelligence, this is a way to bring Barrow back into the fold. It's too late for Barrow to arrange anything externally. You see, against Senegalese strategy interests. Barrow don't have anything. Barrow cannot bring in Nigerians. Barrow cannot be in mercenaries. Barrow cannot do anything else. Now he's facing an election that he might likely lose. And Senegal is saying this. What can you do? It might be a pressure to Barrow, for Barrow to reach out, to look for something more. Now, if Senegal is telling us this and doing something underneath, we don't know that. We will know that because what we see is what Senegal is projecting. I'm not saying that they're doing that. I'm not saying they are doing something underneath, but I say in intelligence here, you don't discount this. I have no evidence. But I have no reason even to think that they will do that, because the help Barrow needs, Senegal cannot give it to them. Barrow have resources, have money and everything. It's not about problem for money. Barrow just feels he doesn't have the capacity himself. He doesn't have what it takes to lead anything. And now this is what he has. He have already built a pile of cards, and those pile of cards are wet and disintegrating. Who can help that? A miracle. Probably they might point him to more sharing to go to. But let's go back to this. Now, if you say that they are certain and probably even to regain control on Barrow, psychologically play, or are they moving, hedging on UDP to have control on UDP? They are the likely government. Look, possible. That's what government do. Now, as I said again, it's not about Macky Sall. It's about Senegalese national interest. Now, Senegal might look at it. Look, this is the government in wait. We have to deal with them. Because, you know, Senegal is not coming out to do that. They will use an intelligentsia to deal with that. And the media is one of them. They use the media intelligentsia to calm the situation and to say to some UDP and the general Gambian public, look, this is where it is. Now, if anything, disputes should happen. If election dispute will happen, we know that UDP would be the biggest player in this. Because again, according to their calculus, they had the bets on UDP to win. Now, if anything happens, UDP, and then UDP will not blame Senegal. Or the militant, the UDP supporters will not blame Senegal, saying, oh no, at least, but Senegal have been, in fact, in support of us. Or Senegalese media have been in support of us. This might, I'm not saying it's happening, but I am going through what intelligences do. There's strategies they can apply in order to bring out control, but there's nothing wrong with that. I'll tell you why. Why is that? Because Senegal don't, as I said, if you look at what happened in in Sanyang, Senegal doesn't want to be seen anymore, or to be perceived, or the strong perception that is going around that they're interfering, they are in support of Barrow, they are in support of the government. Then they want to calm that situation off. When Barrow is in understanding, oh no, this is, or not, Barrow will not like it. But look, this is their strategy. They might not even tell Barrow exactly this is what we're doing. But they might do it to have control over the situation. The situation means NPP, situation means UDP. Yes, the rest of the Gambians matters, but a fact is though, no other political party can be of force without a coalition. The only third way we can have is a coalition of other political parties. If not, it's a two-way. Any single good candidate, whatever, how good you are, you cannot change the narrative right now. It's too late. It's two narratives we have now. Two people, two parties. The third narrative can't possible. It's possible, but it's only possible through a coalition. Right now, Senegal did not see that coalition. That's what they did. Because if they see the coalition with the force, they might say, actually, Gambia is very interested. UDP will have a challenge. They will, do that or they forget about it. Depends on what serves them. The problem here too is the Macky Sall and his mafia. The position of Macky. Remember, Macky Sall is a lame duck right now. There's a split in many quarters in Senegal's institutions, but most of the institutional heads and members are looking at Macky Sall that no, don't do it that time. They are in disagreement with Macky Sall to do it that time. And the evidence of that, remember the General, the general Tin, the general that resigned before his time, because he refuses in March, when the problem was happening in Senegal, to use his forces. He refuses Macky Sall to put in militias into the gendarmerie. He refuses a lot of advances. What happened? Technically, he had to resign. And other evidences are that Senegalese would tell you. And Macky Sall is wrestling with this. But now, something happens here, and Gambians will have to say, some of the Senegalese you see, the dodgy Senegalese you see around Barrow, they're not from this government. No. These are people from Macky Sall. As the president, yes, but as some people politically supporting the president. They are just like other Gambian criminals that would support any president or any candidate for their interests. Yes, if they have money, if they make contracts in Gambia, yes, Senegal is benefited, but that's not, they're not doing it on behalf of the Senegalese government. They're doing it for themselves, and they're already doing the same thing for Macky Sall in Senegal. Just ask the chap that promised the 100 million hotel, the land they're trying to take from the hospital, that hospital in the anti-crime, where the anti-crime was. That person does not have the capacity. He cannot raise 100 million in the market funds anywhere. He's a fraud, and the audit reports in Senegal have said that, not me. And he's a friend of Macky Sall. He gave 2 vehicles to Barrow, and he gave 2 vehicles to Macky Sall. One of the vehicles that he gave to Macky Sall, actually 2 of them actually, they caught fire. Those are the vehicles that caught fire. One at the president's and one somewhere, I think Tiwawan or somewhere else. And Barrow have 2 of the vehicles. I forgot the brands. They are not representing Senegalese government. They are representing their interests with Macky Sall. And now Macky Sall, it's not. But you understand the national intelligence here and the political intelligence here. Macky Sall have an intelligence here, or intelligence services. People that are there for him, or that they are working directly to him. He have a bureau that linked direct to him, and these are political operatives. These are people that go and do things within. They are employed under the Ministry of Interior, and they work ranchement. They like as intelligence, and these are people that he disposes of whenever he wants. But mainly they are active in politics, nothing else. It's not about nationality, it's about politics and Macky Sall. But this intelligence itself mainly are very professional. They are doing the national interest. And whenever it matters, the service chiefs are taking. Service chiefs are only taking intelligence from this renowned National Intelligence Agency. These are the people that give them the information, the intelligence that they need, and they act on. And those are the intelligence they will take to Macky Sall and brief Macky Sall. And these people are professionals. And I'll tell you why, the facts and evidence on that. What they did was, you know, the second round, when Wada wanted to contest the second round, when he lost, the service chief for the gendarme, for the police and the army, they went and met the defense and the interior minister. Literally, they've marched, told these people, we have to go and sit with Macky Sall, with Wada. He have to accept the defeat. We've looked at it, our intelligence reported everything. He have lost the elections. Senegal cannot be destabilized. If he stays later, tonight, without conceding defeat, Senegal will be disrupted, and we cannot take that risk. That was the right act. And Wada didn't have a choice than to concede defeat to Macky Sall. And Macky knew this. And I believe still these are the kind of people they still have in their service chiefs and in the intelligence here. The interesting, as I said, the program, why this program now is for Gambia to learn from this and to have the information that's required. That what Senegal do is not an offense to us. They are looking after themselves. Looking after yourself, that's what everybody should do. It's only that Senegal, as anybody should do, when you look after yourself, you make sure your relationship with others, you put it in the right way, so that the mutual interest would be, especially 2 countries and the kind of relationship we have. We are one people. But again, that is depending on us Gambians. If we fail to elect the right leaders, that's our problem. That's what the leaders we deserve. If we don't have enough reasons to know what sort of leader we need, then we have more work to do to get to that. But I think right now, Gambians have enough of it. And if you are really worried about Senegalese influence or their strategic interests, make sure you look after your strategic interests and your influence. And if we do that, we'll have our mutual interests. As I said, Gambians, we should not have complex of Senegal. Right now, yes, they are far ahead of us. But there's a time, with their bigger economy and everything, bigger population, everything, Gambian influence was pounded. This is the time of the First Republic. Every major conference, every major organization, Gambia was pounding on it. We were hosting things before Senegal. The SEALs, the OIC, the leadership, Jawara was there twice or something like that. Many things. Jawara was there mediating between Senegalese relationship with Guinea-Conakry, Senegalese relationship with Mali, Senegalese relationship with Mauritania. We are projecting internationally. Were we were we interfering? No. And I'll tell you that recognition of Jawara and his might in the diplomatic arena serve Gambia interest a lot. Many Gambians that traveled in those days will tell you, the minute you say you're from Gambia, they said Sadauda, and they have something to tell you about. Positive. Not when the IJM was there. Not now that we are technically renegated as a country. And I'll tell you my personal experience, or our personal experience in Liberia. Even the rebel factions respected Jawara, and he was like the ECOWAS chairman. He was not alienated. He did not alienate himself. He was respected as a leader. And this incident that happened, Prince Johnson, when a Gambian delegate came to Hotel Africa, and I was in charge of the security and the intelligence, and Prince Johnson wanted to speak to the Gambian delegate because he want to convey a message then to the president, Jawara. That was the respect and orders. This goes on. Now we have to learn from this. All we have to learn from is countries would do things that would advance them, and we should do things to advance ourselves. And let's take it for the pinch of salt what this is. Senegal will not decide our elections. We will decide. We will vote. Let it not be this make anybody complacent, thinking that, oh, we already won. Senegal say we won. No. We won on the 4th. Any party that will win will be winning on the 4th. Nobody will complacent. Senegal said we lost the election now. No, let's go. What we know that Barrow is losing. I keep on saying Barrow is losing. And I don't want to bring the Barrow in here. If we come back again, I'll tell you. This past days, what's happening in the State House? What is happening with Barrow? We told him, he never listened. That power of incumbents is not that easily translated to power. It's more than that. Thank you guys. It's been a long one. And that's the reason for the program. And I hope it's appreciated and understood for what it is. It's just to be informed and to know that it's our strategic interest to look after ourselves. Nobody will do that for us. Thank you.